Why is it that despite having everything, you still feel empty? Discover true inner wealth, a life-changing fable. Have you ever stayed up all night for a goal? Worked 80-hour weeks, sacrificed sleep, weekends with your family, even fishing trips with your dad when you were young, all to achieve it? Then one day, you stand before the result. A modern home in Malibu with a Pacific Ocean view, a Tesla in the garage, an investment account steadily growing, and your name popping up in articles about 30 under 40 or tech entrepreneurs to watch. But when you turn off the lights, lie in bed, hear the distant sound of waves and the hum of the air conditioner, your heart still feels empty, like a display room no one has ever lived in. It was one of those days in Malibu, California, that a man named Jack Thompson lived. People called him Jack the Builder, co-founder of a SaaS company that had been backed by major venture funds and sold for nearly $500 million within 5 years. Jack was born and raised in a small town in Ohio, where his father worked as a plumber and his mother was a nurse. He was as all-American as they come. Blonde hair, blue eyes, and the friendly Midwestern smile. But now, at 40, that smile was just a habit for Zoom calls. Jack had everything: a glass-walled house with an ocean view, a collection of high-end carbon bikes, a Rolex Submariner that he bought to commemorate his company's exit, and a packed schedule with conferences in Davos, Austin, and San Francisco. But every night, when the last screen flickered off, Jack would sit alone on his wooden deck, holding a bourbon glass, but not able to take a sip. He would scroll through the photo library on his iPhone, flipping past old pictures. A Christmas shot with his parents in front of the wooden house in Ohio, a photo with his high school friends grilling by the lake, a graduation picture where his dad proudly patted him on the back. He looked at those images and asked himself, "What have I lost that I now have everything but still feel no joy?" One Sunday afternoon, while Jack sat alone on his balcony, watching the blazing sunset over the ocean, an older woman knocked on his gate. She wore an old flannel coat, her gray hair neatly tied back, and held a canvas tote bag with the logo of a local farmer's market from the 90s. She introduced herself as Evelyn, a wildflower and homemade jam vendor at the weekend market. "Could I have a glass of cold water, please?" she asked, her warm voice tinged with a soft California accent. Jack invited her in, poured some homemade iced tea, and offered a few cookies. Evelyn sat down in an Adirondack chair on the deck, took small sips, then suddenly looked Jack straight in the eye. "They say you're rich and have everything, but why do your eyes look so sad, Jack?" Jack gave a forced smile, the kind he had perfected for investor meetings. "What do you mean? People dream of having what I have." Evelyn shook her head gently. "You have everything on the outside, but inside you're empty. That emptiness can't be filled with money, stocks, or followers." She pulled an old, faded photo from her bag, a picture of a middle-aged man standing by the sea, fishing rod in hand, smiling a true American smile. "This is my husband, Tom. He was born in Kansas, grew up in California, and used to be a big contractor in LA. There was a time when he was like you, big house, new Ford F-150, money in the bank, but then he realized he could no longer smile truly. So he started waking up early, walking the beach with his old dog just to listen to the waves and chat with fishermen and dog walkers. Little by little, he let go of big contracts, sold parts of his company, and spent time teaching kids how to kayak, how to tie knots like Boy Scouts. The day he passed, the whole neighborhood showed up, not because he was rich, but because he had lived well." Jack sat in silence for a long time. He whispered, "So, how do I fill this emptiness?" Evelyn smiled gently. "You don't fill it, you let it breathe. You need to go find what you left behind. Things from Ohio, from when your dad taught you to fish, from when you could laugh without needing a reason." She handed him a large abalone shell with a folded piece of paper inside. On the paper were just a few handwritten lines. Walk from here to the end of Point Doom Trail. No phone, no wallet, no earpods, just your hungry heart. Jack looked at her, half believing, half skeptical. But that night, he couldn't sleep. He held the shell, stared out to the pitch-black ocean, and decided, just one morning, what do I have to lose?
The next morning, with the sea mist still hanging in the air, Jack put on an old Ohio State Buckeyes t-shirt, cargo pants, and worn-out hiking shoes from college. No phone, no wallet, nothing at all. He began walking along the coastal trail toward Point Doom, about 10 miles from his home. At first, he walked quickly, like he was tracking his pace on an Apple Watch, which he had left at home. But after 40 minutes, his feet began to ache. Sweat dripped down under the California sun, and his breath grew heavier. He hadn't walked this long since his Boy Scout days in Ohio. He wanted to turn back and call for an Uber Black, but then he remembered Evelyn's words, "Just your hungry heart." He gritted his teeth and kept walking. Along the way, he met an old man fishing from a rock. The man invited him to sit and gave him a cold bottle of water. He talked about the salmon runs of the past, the big storm in 1998, and his late wife, who would smile every time she saw him come home with fresh fish. Jack listened, for the first time in years, not thinking about cap tables, not thinking about ARR. He kept walking. He met a group of kids playing frisbee on the sand. They pulled him into their game. He ran after the flying disc, fell face first into the sand, and laughed loudly, the first real laugh he'd had in years. A Midwestern laugh he had forgotten. Sand stuck in his hair, his clothes soaked with sweat, but his heart felt lighter. By noon, he was starving. An elderly woman running a taco truck by the side of the road offered him a free meal. Fresh fish tacos, cilantro, a little spicy sauce, so delicious that he ate 3 of them in a row. He sat on a plastic chair, eating without taking pictures, without checking in, just enjoying the taste like the days when his mother made sandwiches for family picnics. As the sun began to set, he finally reached the end of the Point Doom Trail, a rocky outcrop overlooking the ocean, waves crashing violently, wind blowing strong. Beneath an old oak tree, a small wooden plaque read, "The richest man is not the one who has the most, but the one who has lived the deepest." Jack sat on a rock, looking out at the vast Pacific. The wind tousled his hair. He suddenly realized, for all these years, he had been racing to have it all, but he had forgotten to live it all. He had bought a house with an ocean view, but never sat alone there to listen to the waves. He had the money to invite friends for fine dining, but had forgotten the feeling of sharing a cold drink with a stranger, just like his dad did with the neighbors. Tears fell from his eyes, not from sadness, but from relief. For the first time in so long, he felt his heart breathe like the young Jack in Ohio, running barefoot through the fields and laughing just for the joy of being alive. From that day, Jack changed. He still ran the company, but cut down on pointless meetings, lessened the red-eye flights. Every morning, he woke up early to walk the Malibu coast, sometimes video calling his parents in Ohio just to check in and listen to his dad talk about fishing. He spent time mentoring young founders, not for equity, but to see them smile. He turned a corner of his backyard into a place for street vendors, fishermen, and janitors to gather for a weekend barbecue, an authentic American barbecue with grilled meat, cold beer, and laughter. He began taking photos not to post on LinkedIn, but to preserve moments, sunsets, children's smiles, the weathered hands of a fisherman. Years later, when his hair had turned gray, someone asked him, "Are you still rich, Jack?" Jack smiled, a real smile, the Midwestern one he had rediscovered. "I don't have as much money as I did before, but I'm richer than I've ever been, because I've learned how to live, truly live. True wealth isn't in what you own, but in what you feel, what you appreciate, and those moments that make your heart beat faster." This story isn't about telling you to give everything up. It's simply a reminder. Don't wait until you're standing before everything to realize you've missed a real life. Today, you can do something small. Turn off your phone for an hour. Walk somewhere with no purpose. Listen to the wind. Listen to the waves. Listen to your own heart. The heart that's been with you since you were born, whether in Ohio, California, or anywhere else. Because true inner wealth isn't in what you own, it's in what you feel, what you treasure, and those moments that make your heart beat faster. Are you ready to let your heart breathe? If this story touched you, share it with someone who's been chasing success and forgot to live. And if you want more stories that inspire, that bring meaning and help you rediscover yourself, subscribe to the Deep Life Stories channel today. That's where stories truly touch the heart, bringing motivation and reflection every day. Hit subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss out.